Well, it's proportionate to the level of chaos that the mayor, Karen Bass, and the governor, Gavin Newsom, have promulgated on the people there of Los Angeles and the state of California. It got out of control because of them. We are perfectly fine with peaceful protests, but this devolved rather rapidly. At first, the city refused.
Before we jump into the footage, make sure to comment your thoughts below, hit the like button, and subscribe so you never miss an update. Today, we're breaking down a dramatic exchange on UK television, where Republican Congressman Mark Alford appeared on the BBC to defend federal troop deployments in Los Angeles. Watch as Victoria Derbyshire presses him on proportionality, military orders, and constitutional rights. Let's get right into the clip.
Let's talk live to Republican Congressman Mark Alford, who is a vocal supporter of Donald Trump in the House. Congressman, thank you very much for speaking to our audience here in the UK and around the world. As I understand it, there are about 4 million people in Los Angeles City. There are about 500 to 800 protesters. You've got hundreds of Marines now being mobilised. How is that proportionate?
Well, it's proportionate to the level of chaos that the mayor, Karen Bass, and the governor, Gavin Newsom, have promulgated on the people there of Los Angeles and the state of California. It got out of control because of them. We are perfectly fine with peaceful protests, but this devolved rather rapidly. At first, the city refused to do anything about it. The police department stood down. That is why the National Guard was brought in to protect property, to protect lives. And now the President of the United States is bringing in several hundred Marines, not to make arrests, not to deal with law enforcement, but to shore up the National Guard so that they can do their job now in coordination with the city that has finally taken action to arrest the thugs, the insurrectionists.
And so can I just clarify, will the Marines be allowed to shoot at protesters?
I highly doubt that. That is not in their purview. That is not in their orders from the President of the United States. Only under the Insurrection Act of our Constitution can Marines or any other law enforcement, that would be a violation of the Posse Comitatus, they cannot act as law enforcement officers on U.S. soil. That is not in their purview. Okay.
We've just shown our audience here in the UK and around the world the live pictures from downtown Los Angeles, and there are hundreds of people there. They are protesting peacefully. The atmosphere seems relatively jovial. Why do you need Marines?
Well, I haven't seen the video to which you were referring of a jovial nature. Yesterday I was watching live for several hours. It was anything but that.
But I'm talking about
these
today.
Anarchists, these people
Marines,
throwing things at police, throwing bricks, throwing concrete, throwing rocks, dropping heavy equipment onto cars, setting cars on fire. That is not jovial. That is insurrection.
Forgive me, Mr. Alford. I'm not suggesting that is jovial. I'm suggesting what we're showing, what you can probably hear in the background now, are protesters, and the atmosphere looks fine. Now, the mayor and the governor of California made it clear that the LAPD could cope. The LAPD, who aren't known to be shrinking violets, let's face it, said the protests were largely peaceful. It doesn't sound like they need the National Guard or the Marines.
Well, you can't wait around, Victoria. It could quickly turn on a dime, or a pound, I should say, that this protest would change in a heartbeat. We saw that happen in the past 2 days. These forces that are being mobilized now, National Guard, local police, in coordination with the U.S. Marine Corps, that is coming in to shore up, not take any other action other than to help shore up these forces and provide support. It is there to try to quell this.
Okay.
You know,
well,
the Democrats would try to say that President Trump has inflamed the situation by federalizing the National Guard. The people who fanned the flames on this was the governor, Gavin Newsom, and the mayor, Bass, for not doing anything to stop the violence. We are all about peaceful protest in the United States of America, but they crossed the Rubicon.
The widespread protests following the death of George Floyd back in 2020, when President Trump was in power the first time around, were far, far worse. And Donald Trump did not send the National Guard in then. That is why people are asking now, does he want this battle? Is this just an excuse?
This is not about a battle. This is about the 77 million Americans who voted a mandate to restore law and order in the United States of America, to restore our economic system, to restore security to our border. These all come together now in the orders of the President of the United States, the Homeland Security Secretary, ICE, enforcement of our immigration system. We have got to make sure that we have a future in this country, and that is going to require securing our border, securing our economy, securing our streets, and returning law and order. It's very simple.
Sure, and I'm not
President
asking.
Trump does not want a civil war. He wants justice and he wants peace in America.
I'm actually not asking about the ICE raids. I'm asking you really about the First Amendment of the US Constitution, which guarantees, as you know, the right to assembly, freedom of speech, and the press.
Right.
But is it just when President Trump agrees with it then?
Not at all. We all believe in the First Amendment. I am a former journalist here in the United States of America. I made my career off the First Amendment. President Trump believes in the First Amendment. His administration believes in the First Amendment. But these scallywags have crossed the line. They are insurrectionists. They are funded in parts by outside organizations who are dropping off loads of bricks and concrete blocks and rocks to not just peacefully protest and not have a jovial time, but to disrupt, to harm, and to try to get their way through violence. It will not be tolerated.
Okay, we saw insurrectionists on January the 6th, didn't we? When, of course, President Trump, again, did not call in the National Guard or the Marines. I want to ask you one more question. Has Gavin Newsom stepped over the line? Because, as you know, today, Donald Trump says he would have him arrested. Now, arresting political opponents is what happens in President Putin's Russia, isn't it?
One clarification, Victoria, on your previous statement about January 6th. It is proven now that President Trump did authorize some 24,000 National Guard members to come on January 6th to the Capitol, and Nancy Pelosi refused those National Guard troops. She admitted on tape as to doing that. As far as Governor Gavin Newsom goes, I don't think he will be arrested. He is taunting the President of the United States of America because he intends to run for president. This is what's called earned media in America. You get free airtime, you get to spout off, you get to create an adversary and hopefully win the Democrat nomination. That is all that is about, because he has lost face because how poorly he has run the state of California low these many years.
Mark Alford, thank you very much for talking to our audience. We appreciate your.
Looking at that interview, you can see how quickly the standard talking points start to crumble under direct scrutiny. The presenter hits the nail on the head by raising the issue of selective response and precedent. Nobody is dismissing legitimate security concerns or civil unrest in Los Angeles. But when you look at major past events like the widespread protests in 2020 or the events of January 6th, federal troop deployments were handled completely differently. Questioning why federal force is being mobilized so aggressively in this specific instance is a completely fair and necessary subject for public debate. Calling for political opponents like Gavin Newsom to be arrested raises massive red flags. You cannot spend years decrying the alleged weaponization of the justice system against political candidates, only to turn around and suggest arresting state leaders who disagree with executive decisions. It points to a blatant double standard when it comes to executive authority and local sovereignty. Ultimately, using heavy-handed federal action while making public threats against elected officials looks less like maintaining order and more like targeted political pressure. What do you think about the decision to deploy military support in this scenario? Do you think it's proportional, or is it executive overreach? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the thumbs up button to help us in the YouTube algorithm, and make sure to subscribe and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a new upload.